So here we have an Aqua One aquarium. Now it's obviously had a fair bit of evaporation, which for these aquariums, considering there's only one pump running on this aquarium, it's actually sort of ideal. Because with these aquariums, they've actually got a top filter. So the filter's in the top here. Alright guys, just relax. So you got the top filter here. But what happens in these filters is that lots of good bacteria grows in this media. So it's really important that this media is not cleaned in tap water. When you clean it, you want to clean it in water from the fish tank, not water from the tap. And then the mechanical part, you want to just replace that on a regular basis. But what basically happens is lots of good bacteria grows in this media. And then the good bacteria is going to suck all the oxygen out of the water. So what you need to be aware of with these aquariums is, in this case, the water's evaporated down quite a lot. And the water is falling into the aquarium. And the fact that the water is falling into the aquarium is actually really good because it's helping to re-aerate the oxygen that the filter actually takes out itself. Also be careful when it goes down too low because those pumps are water cooled, so we don't want to blow the pump up if it overheats. But if this was my aquarium, I would definitely want some sort of contingency. Because what my issue is with these tanks is the filter itself is actually quite good. It's actually convenient and it's actually easy to clean. But the disadvantage is that it returns the water under the water from the filter, assuming that the tank's full. And then what happens is you can end up with what's called redox issues. So inside this filter is going to grow lots of good bacteria. And that bacteria is responsible for breaking down the waste of the fish. But one of the main things that that filter is going to require is oxygen. So therefore, if you have water getting through the bacteria sucks out all the oxygen, then puts it back into the aquarium again, and it's not breaking the water like that, then the filter will actually make the oxygen go down. Now this aquarium's got plants in it, so therefore you're going to have a lot of photosynthesis. And you're going to end up with quite a lot of algae because you're going to have a lot of carbonic acid. And you're going to have a lot of fluctuation in pH and so forth between daytime and nighttime. Because in the daytime, the plants are going to photosynthesize and this algae is going to photosynthesize, which means the oxygen in the daytime is going to be much better than the oxygen at the nighttime. Because at nighttime, the plant's going to reverse and they're going to release CO2 instead of releasing oxygen. So if this was my tank, the very first thing I would do is introduce either a second internal filter that I'd say mount on this corner or here. And I want to agitate the surface all the time. Because if I'm agitating the surface all the time, number one is that was going to increase my dissolved oxygen level. It's going to allow consistency of pH and consistency of dissolved oxygen and redox. And it's also going to be a backup. Because at the moment, this whole aquarium is run off this one single pump. And one day it will fail. So therefore, there's absolutely no backup. So I'm a big fan of backup. And I'm a big fan of over-filtering. And I really want to see good surface agitation. And as I said, if you run these aquariums with good dissolved oxygen level and good redox potential, these filters, they actually work pretty well. Now, you can hugely increase the efficiency of these filter by, instead of just putting filter wool, you could put polyfilter, and polyfilter will adsorb and absorb anything impure out of the water. And you could also replace this media for something like Marine Pure. Now Marine Pure is going to grow parallel nitrifying and denitrifying bacteria, which will reduce your need for water changes. So I'm going to start testing up this water and servicing this tank, and I'll keep you up to date with any tips. Tested the water. And despite the fact that, as far as I can see, the fish don't actually look too bad, but the fish should actually be dead. Because as it stands, there's definitely ammonia in the water, which would indicate that our redox potential is too low. Their nitrite is okay, nitrate is okay. The pH is neutral, whereas the live bearer fish in here prefer a more alkaline pH. But my main concern is that the KH is 0. So a KH of 0 is definitely bad for your plants and can kill your fish and definitely is going to create instability in your pH and is going to affect all biological life, including your bacteria. So it's going to be really important to raise the KH and monitor it in this aquarium. And mind you, all aquariums in Sydney are pretty much like that. Hey guys, pH of this aquarium is pretty much 0 as well. Now, the plants aren't really bothered by the low GH, but GH is actually very important to the fish's immune system, because it's really important that you've got GH salts in the water, because what that's going to do is help the fish's body slime and help their immune system. So I'm definitely going to want to add GH and KH. Fish keeping is 50% water quality, which I've just tested the water here, and realistically these fish would be dead. And it's 50% food quality. So this food is about the best food that you can get. And it is so common that I go to people's houses just like this, and I test the water, and according to the water, the fish should really be dead. But as far as I can see, with the view that I've got of these fish, they really seem okay. And this is a very high quality food. And it is again and again and again, when I go to houses, test the water, I'm shocked by how bad the water is, considering the fish look okay. It's because good quality food. Now, I'm very biased for this food. This is Spectrum's probiotics. It's a cold extruded food. It's set at the absorption rate of the fish, and it's got the probiotic bacteria in it, which means when the fish poo, the bacteria in the poo eats the poo. So this is a very, very good food. I also love Danichi color as well. So this is something I'm very happy to see. Now, there is ammonia in this water. Increasing water flow, dissolved oxygen level and redox is how we'd fix that. But giving the filter a good clean and the bottom a good gravel clean is absolutely going to help. But once again, if this was my tank, I would get, say, an Aqua L Turbo Filter 500, and I would put it on that corner there, and I would want it blowing across here and agitating my surface, and that would make a massive impact to this tank. Okay, so now what I'm doing is using a gravel cleaner to remove water from the aquarium. And what the gravel cleaner will do is allow me to clean the gravel while I'm removing the water. And I really want to be doing this on a fairly regular basis, probably once or twice a month. Just take a little bit of water out, like a quarter of the water, just through the gravel cleaner, and try to stay away from the roots of the plants. It's summer here in Sydney, so a 50% water change is about the most I ever want to change. Otherwise, you can shock your fish. In winter, it would be better to do like a maximum of a third and be conscious of the temperature of the new water. Whereas here in summer, it's pretty safe. So I'm going to give the tank a bit of a clean up now. The other thing to be watching over time with your plants is if your plants are growing and they're green, everyone's happy. If over time you notice the leaves going a little bit yellow, then there's fertilizers like Flourish that you could consider adding to the aquarium. And then if you notice black algae growing all over the leaves, which there's definitely some here, you could consider adding Flourish Excel, and that's an organic carbon product, which is basically like a liquid CO2 source. There's also driftwood in here, so if you ever see a discolor in the water, then putting a little bit of activated carbon into the filter would be a great way to clear that up. Now this thing is a flipper. It's the best thing you'll ever buy, and that allows you to clean your aquarium like this. It's very effective. Otherwise, if you do get some extra catfish, the catfish will do quite a good job cleaning the algae. But the disadvantage of the catfish is sometimes they will go after the plants a little bit. But getting a flipper, probably the best thing you'd ever get. I used to hate servicing aquariums before I got one of these. Now, plants often come in these things, but these are really just for protecting the roots. So when you buy your plant, if it comes in a pot like this, I would suggest chucking the pot out and then planting the plants properly. Or you can get root rot.